Aloha. Welcome. Blessings on this beautiful day of Jupiter. Thursday, day of expansion. Activating the elements of fire and earth as we create smoke and activating the waters within as we take these beautiful sips of water. And to further activate the elements, I call upon the element of air, earth. Would like to bless our space with the divine wisdom that lie within the buffalo. Call upon the ancestors, call upon the elements, fire, earth, air, water. May they bring us activation in all the right places. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me for this very first session of Transcend the Transformation, where I want to offer an opportunity to explore the 5 core processes or elements or templates that are crucial in building the new earth. And I received this beautiful message around this time last year and received these 5 core elements that are going to be part of what we're experiencing. And so we've been experiencing these things, and I wanted to create an opportunity to talk about how we're working through the transformative process, but also how we are internalizing how we are transforming. And in honor of that and of the calendar, the energy of this day, I am utilizing my Lords of Time Maya Daykeeper calendar. And today we are on the second Lamat day. And Lamat is a star sign that represents the planet of Venus. So this is super beautiful to think about the dualities, to think about the polarities that we often experience in the representation of the two, but also in our ability to get in touch with how we're integrating these perceptions of dualities and how we're able to move through that, and that is a part of our transformation. So transcending the transformation, these sessions are intended for us to dive into the transmutative process that happens in the body between the mind and the emotion. So we are tapping into the consciousness of the emotional body and the consciousness of the mental body, and beginning to look at the in-between, that transmutative space. And in that way, we are transcending the transformation because we are really allowing for that transcendence process. And first, we must dive deep within the transformation within, which is the transmutation of our shadows, of our karmic wheels, if you will. And my beautiful spiritual mentor, Inner Sun Alchemy, Jeanette at Inner Sun Alchemy, this morning was sharing in her oracle talks around the energy of the underworld and how important and crucial it is that we are tapping into the divine wisdoms within the cycles, and that we must allow for them to run their course. And so activation of the emotional body and the mental body, the consciousness that lives there in their own unique separate spaces, allow for the integration to come together, which is what happens when we begin to transcend our experience. And to help us with exploring this, I want us to use the first element, the first embodiment that I like to talk about when I talk about New Earth love, is the notion of self-love versus self-esteem. Now, this is pretty powerful because when we're thinking about how we are, again, moving through the transcendent process, the cycling through process, when we're thinking about transmuting energy within, we must transmute the energy of self-esteem. So many of us, and it still exists in the world, talk about transformation that happens when we build and boost our self-esteem, right? And our self-esteem is perceived as a really positive and beneficial thing. And I'm not here to dispute necessarily the idea of viewing oneself in a favorable way. However, self-esteem is an inherent judgment. It's a judgment of the self. So we're perceiving, looking at value and worth from a hierarchical or quantitative perspective. Like, we're putting a particular value on that, but we're looking at it through a judging perspective, because the judgment is where we are perceiving the perception of self as good or bad. So you have low self-esteem if you do these things. You have high self-esteem if you do these things. And I'm just curious if you've experienced this. So really being mindful means that we are engaging in reflection from a non-judgmental state. That's what mindfulness means. So if we are being mindful, we are reflecting about the self from a non-judgmental perspective. But if we are looking at the self through a lens of judgment, which is what informs self-esteem, then we are completely doing the opposite of what mindfulness reflective engagement is. So we want to be in a mindful state because mindfulness lends itself to compassion, and compassion is the very core element of how we will experience love rebirthed, which is what we will talk about in another week's session. But this week is exploring the notion of self-love versus self-esteem. So we explored self-esteem. So what's self-love? Self-love is coming from this non-judgmental reflective state. When we think about self-love, it's coming from a deeply compassionate place, that we understand that as a human, we experience the vastness of all of the emotions. We do not judge them as good or bad. We do not judge low self-esteem and high self-esteem. We understand that part of our transmutative process, again, transcending transformation. How do we move beyond the transformative process? We must go within and we must transmute the energy. We cannot rush this. And so allowing ourselves the time, the divine time, begins to support this transcendence through the transformative process, but the transmutation of the self-esteem energy, so that we can move into the transformative energy of self-love, is super, super crucial for us. And I'm curious about our experiences with this notion of self-love and our experiences with the ideas and perception of self-esteem. Has that word caused any impact to you? And how do we perceive ourselves? Do we perceive ourselves from a self-esteem, self-worth perspective? Or do we already know our worth? We know we're inherently worthy because we are here. And we instead are looking at life through a self-love perspective, where everything is the vibration of love. Love is the universal language. That's how we transcend and we transcend above transformation. We engage in what my Mayan ancestors speak on when they speak on Banchebe, our search for the root of the truth. And Yoka, our ability to stand above the truth. And this is super powerful in our ability to build the new earth, because building the new earth through the lens of judgment, self-esteem, will not afford the expansive nature of what we are capable of through the vibration of love. Because that vibration of love has no bounds. It's limitless. It's infinite. It's infinite. And I created this tattoo with the word love, and it having an infinity feeling, because love is boundless. It has an infinity feeling, this beautiful energy of the 8. It's part of that. So I want to call in our ancestors, and I want to call in our higher self, so that we may receive a deeper message around this notion of transmuting the old earth energy of self-esteem, and allow us to move into that cycle of closure, of coming to an end of this process of judgment, judging others, judging self, so that we can move beyond, transcend, move beyond forgiveness. Forgiveness is part of the transmutative process. When we are able to move beyond the forgiveness, and we transcend through the process of transmutation, allowing it to burn like ash, completely dissolving the notion of judgment, self-esteem, of self-worth. And we move into the vibration of love, love for the self, for the body temple, for what we represent as an earthling. Love, the vibration boundless of our soul's mission to build with each other, to experience with each other, to grow and expand in this human form. This is why we choose to come here, as a human. We come into this body to experience the vastness of these experiences, the boundlessness of these experiences. And in order to experience the truly expansive nature of transformation, we must address our transmutative process. And so I'm here to call upon the ancestors and to call upon the energy of fire and earth. May they create smoke in our body. And I want us to take a collective breath to solidify this energy. On 3, I want us to empty out our belly, tucking it in, and ready to inhale to the count of 8, honoring this, the nature of the infinity, the nature of the endless cycles of life. Breathing in to the count of 8, holding for 8, and releasing slowly. Down on 3, 2, 1, breathe in. Holding at the top of 8. Releasing out the nose slowly to the count of 8. Finding your normal breathing. Calling in all of our beneficial ancestors, our spirit team. Calling in Archangel Michael for heart opening. And first I want to share, I'm going to do a card spread for us to support this message. And I'm using 2 decks. Today I'm using my Mayan Tarot deck. And then I'll be using my Wild Unknown Tarot deck. So the Mayan energy will be our central theme. And we will use the traditional tarot for clarification on the particular elements for self, for the internal self, the external self, and then our external world. So we will be pulling 3 different cards. Hello, welcome. One card, please. Oh, we got lots of cards, so let us put them back. Try this again. Hello, hello. And let us just clear our mind. Let our mind's consciousness take a break for a moment. And let us get in touch with our emotional body. And we're looking to create a bridge between our emotional body and our mental body. So these messages are aimed at allowing us clarity about the in-between space. Thank you for the 1 card. And here we have the warrior. The warrior. So let's see what the warrior is about. And then we will pull the clarifying cards out. So let's see. This is such an interesting deck. It's still getting a chance to learn about it. But the warrior is a Cancer card. So this is giving me the vibe of family. And here we are asked to activate our speech. And we are receiving victorious nudes of openness and initiation. So I'm getting the vibe that we are open for the next chapter. We are open for our victories, for noticing the fruits of our labors, and to take action and initiate the next stage of our journey. So let us use the tarot to give us some clarities on this energy. We want clarity on the internal self, the external self, which I'll denote as south and north, and then the external environment as east and west. Speaking to the energies, letting them know what to do. So let us start with our internal narratives around the notion of self-love and self-esteem, and how we can stand into the warrior energy of openness, action, and initiation. Curious what this card was. Well, ooh, we have the Nine of Swords, and this came out also in the reading with my beautiful spiritual mentor. Nine of Swords energy. West. Okay, guys, so we have in our internal landscape the need to address this Nine of Swords energy, really reminding us about our thoughts, our thinking processes, and the perception of loss, perhaps of loss and grieving. And there's a lot of need to transmute childhood wounds. I've been going through that myself, and really address the inner nature of the way that it's coming up and informing the mind. And for the external self, here we have the Emperor. This is a beautiful energy, but it's underneath the Two of Pentacles, which tells me that there's a need to balance two aspects of ourselves. Again, the duality, and this could mean the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy, and it can mean all the other kinds of things that we might think of when we think about the external self. So this is how we take actions for the self. And it's meaning that if we can really be honest with ourselves, be honest with ourselves, and deal with manage through the transmutative process of these thinking thoughts that are haunting us, that are causing us pains, we can tap into the energy of the Emperor by allowing ourselves a balance, creating balance. And here's the infinity sign again. Reminding us of the infinite nature of the cycles and the process that we have to go through, and constantly making choices and balancing between the perception of polarities, and how we transmute that energy openly and willingly, and open to really initiate the change that we so deserve and desire. And on the external elements, we have the Seven of Cups and the High Priestess. So we have our West and East energy, East and West, West and East. There's no hierarchy. And the Seven of Cups also came up on Oracle Talks within Jeanette and Inner Sun Alchemy this morning. I would highly encourage you to take a peek at that transmission, because there were some really important things discussed about the Seven of Cups energy around allowing ourselves to feel the things, to notice the shadows, and allow this, because even this card has like a duality to it. We could flip it over and here we have the sun, and if we flip it over we have the moon. So there's an important part of us going through the emotional landscape that we need to, and the timeline that we need to, and allowing that transmutative process of the burning of the ash before the transformation. Before we expect to transform, we must go through the cycle. And in this, with this warrior energy, we have the opportunity to be open and to initiate these. And here we have on the other side the High Priestess, just reminding us that we have, if we can tap into this beautiful energy, our intuitive power is endless. Our ability to manifest is endless. We are really then able to transcend the transformation with this energy. So we're tapping into a level of magic that is beyond, it's beyond what we can understand, because it's the mystery, right? It's the mystery of the darkness of the La Luna energy, of the feminine energy, of the nature of the womb, the beautiful openness, quiet stillness, but also the possibility for expansion. And at the bottom of the deck here we have the Judgment card. This is telling us, this is part of, and even look at this is like transmutation energy. Here we have the dark and the light, you know. This is transmuting, moving forward, upward, transcending, beginning to we cannot experience transformation if we do not experience the transmutative process. So crucial. This is such a crucial message, and that's what this IG Live series is about. It's about talking about the process of transmutation, and as a precursor for transformation. This word transformation is used a lot. And how do we transcend above the idea that we're constantly transforming? Because we constantly are rebuilding ourselves, recreating ourselves. We are part of life, and all life has cycles. We move beyond this notion of constantly seeking transformation when we allow the transmutative process of how we actually experience the cycling up. We transcend above this notion of transformation because we're engaging actively, openly, with as an initiator. We're taking the initiative action like the warrior in this process. And let me see if there's any energies that's opposing this ability to step in the warrior energy. Any guidance that we might have to assist us with this process. Ooh, this is a lot of cards. But what comes to me really quickly is, again, the Six of Cups, which talks about nostalgia, and the Devil card, which could mean that we're holding on to the past and it's become our addiction. It's our addictive thought. It's clouding our ability to see clearly. And underneath that, we have the Star card, living in our truest, brightest nature. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this session, that today is the second day of Lamat. Lamat is the star energy. The star energy, we are all stars, truly. We illuminate with the beautiful energy of the star. And when we can get past this internal landscape and allow us to move past, like, the idea of this is already what I know and it's addictive because it's what I know and it's what I feel comfortable with, we can actually find our star. And we can then move beyond some of these energies of the Four of Cups. We take choices, we plan for our future, and here we go. We have the World card. The World card, here we go again. The World card, because we're at a place now when we transmute at this level where we are completing a cycle. We're completing a cycle that allows us to make choices about our life. Choices within how we perceive and then how we then act, what we value. So, beautiful message. A reminder of what can get in the way of us standing in our warrior, openness, taking initiative energy. To really be thoughtful about those addictive patterns that we get into in our mind can be very, can create a lot of loops, and it can become addictive because we don't realize that it's the norm. And so part of how we build the new earth is transmuting these energies, decolonizing from these ideas, these notions in the mind, and moving in a space of transmuting the energy. And so going back to the notion of self-love and self-esteem, how do we move beyond the notion of measuring our worth, of judging our worth through the idea of self-esteem and what it has represented in our culture, and create a new cultural norm around self-love? And we are perceiving the self through this lens of love. And when we're open and we take initiative, we actively work to address the inner mental blocks and step into really balancing those energies and allowing us to step into the emperor energy. We can really begin to work through some of these energies that oppose this and begin to appreciate the cycle. So I invite you to really honor this energy, really honor the energy of balancing aspects of our life, and really take the time to get in touch with the deeper emotions, the emotional body, to allow the cycling of energy and allow the mind to quiet. And so I'm starting to host several different spaces that are intended to quiet the mind and open the heart. And I invite you to all these spaces. The first one is my goddess space that will be happening on moon days. If you're interested in joining, please DM me. And I also have some meditative art experiences happening in the LA area. I would love to have you join. And allowing us just this reminder that when we do this, we tap into the boundless intuitive nature, and that intuition is us honoring the divine feminine and all of the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful life that is created in that energy space. And that is how we create transformation. When we experience our transmuting of the shadows, and we're able to move in a new cycle where we're actually transforming ourselves. and allow the divine feminine energy of creation to inform this beautiful process. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sending you so much love. Don't forget to love yourself radically today. Take care.